Location: aftermath of the destruction at Alchemax. New York City lies in ruins. The power is out across the whole city. The only thing lighting up the night sky are the fires that still rage on. Closer to the blast site, buildings have been completely destroyed. The scene is apocalyptic. Spider-Man lies in the wreckage. He's alive, but only just. He sits up to see the city around him has been ripped to pieces from the implosion of the portal. Spider-Man slowly gets to his feet. His suit has been ripped to shreds and he is badly wounded. Spider-Man searches the wreckage and finds some of Kraven, the Hunter's remains. He continues searching for hours, but cannot find any sign of Ben Reilly. Eventually, Spider-Man gives up the search, accepting that Ben was either sucked into the portal or obliterated by the blast. Spider-Man swings to MJ's house to see if she's okay. He has not spoken to her since the Man-Spider virus started taking over him. Her house has been damaged by the blast, but he sees that she is okay. He decides to go and speak to her and swings to her window. She lets him in. MJ doesn't know what to think or say. She doesn't even know if the person in front of her is actually Peter Parker, the one she knows and loves. Peter explains everything, sparing no detail. MJ still is not sure if she believes him. Peter asks her to test him by asking a question only he would know. MJ asks Peter what she was wearing the first day they met, and Peter describes her outfit flawlessly and without hesitation. Confident that this is the Peter she knows, MJ embraces Peter, and they hold one another tightly. MJ tells Peter that Aunt May is safe and sound in a clinic. She was injured in the blast, but she's okay and is being looked after. Elsewhere in the blast radius, Jonathan Owen awakens in the rubble. He has been transformed into the Spot. His entire body is chalk white with black spots on it. The spots are interdimensional portals. Jonathan feels different. He doesn't know what has happened to him. He is horrified when he looks down at his hands. He finds a large piece of broken glass and uses it as a mirror to investigate his appearance. He trembles at the sight of himself. He realized that when he was pulled into the portal, his body must have somehow fused with the light and dark dimensions, turning him into this monstrous figure. On inspects the portals in his body in an effort to understand how they work. He finds out that he can open and close portals at will and send his body parts through different portals. He is the manifestation of Spot World, an interdimensional portal world with multiple portals leading to Earth. He blames Spider-Man for interfering with his plans and turning him into this abomination. His anger and dismay is cut short by an epiphany. Maybe he can take advantage of this situation. Perhaps all is not lost. With the city in disarray, he can use his portaling abilities to rebuild the multiverse machine better than before. He knows exactly what he needs to do. He was in charge of building the first machine, and he can do it again. He realizes that his ability to move through space will allow him to steal all the equipment he needs from around the city, what's left of it at least. He wonders if Spider-Man survived the blast. He may be the only one that might stand in his way. With Alchemax completely destroyed, he'll need to find a new base of operations. This should be easy enough considering the damage to the city. All he needs is a large enough warehouse to conceal his operations. Meanwhile, Ben Reilly, the Scarlet Spider, is floating through time and space, stuck in an interdimensional rift. When he was sucked into the portal, it closed without spitting him back out. He floats unconscious through a dark void, a space that might only be described as Limbo. He's somewhere in between, swallowed by nothingness, back in New York. The Spot portals himself to a large stadium that is still mostly intact. The stadium is within the blast radius and has a roof over it, so his work will go on unnoticed by the outside world. He will need to make a plan for a power source, but that won't be a problem. His reactor will have to be powered by a nuclear core, and that'll be the first piece of equipment he steals. The Spot portals himself to the opposite end of the city that was not directly affected by the blast, where there is a nuclear power station. Inside the nuclear power station, a portal opens, and the scientists at the power station panic at the sight. Owen steps out of the portal and introduces himself. Owen, greetings, good people. I, like you, was a scientist once, a researcher devoted to innovation. My life was stripped away from me, and now I appear as you see me. Enough with the formalities. I will be taking your reactor core for my own use. One of the scientists speaks up. Scientist, if you pull the core from the reactor, you'll cause a nuclear reaction that'll take down what's left of the city with it. You'll kill us all. Owen. Of course, I've thought of this already. I'll drop the entire plant through a portal before removing the core. I'll escape with the core and leave the plant to explode in a place where it cannot cause any harm. You are not my enemies. My only enemy is Spider-Man. Scientist, what about us? Owen, I'll give you 5 minutes to evacuate. Go now. The scientists evacuate the building, running for their lives. Inside the reactor chamber, Owen prepares to open a portal big enough to swallow the entire nuclear plant. Outside the building, the scientists jump into their cars and speed out of the parking lot. Owen opens the portal, and the entire facility falls into a massive black hole. Some of the scientists are also sucked into the portal, unable to escape in time. The black hole in the place of where the city was causes an earthquake that rips through the city. Buildings crack and begin to fall, and cars fall into the separating earth. It is utter chaos. On takes a deep breath and prepares to remove the reactor core. He dislodges the core and immediately portals himself back to his stadium and closes the portal to Spot World. The black hole where the facility once was closes up. Inside of Spot World, the facility erupts in a catastrophic nuclear explosion, but it is contained within the dimension and does not affect Earth in any way. Spider-Man has arrived in the city to help with the rescue efforts. The earthquake has caused so much destruction. Everywhere he looks, there is someone in need of saving. Spider-Man works tirelessly for hours, pulling people from collapsing buildings, and using his super strength to help rescue workers dig for survivors. Spider-Man rushes to a hospital that is caught on fire as a result of an explosion caused by the earthquake. Spider-Man moves from floor to floor to try and save as many as he can, but the building is about to collapse in on itself. Spider-Man is forced to flee the building to save himself and watches in horror, and the hospital collapses. All around, those who have survived appear distraught, hopeless, terrified. Location: Aunt May's clinic. Peter goes to visit Aunt May in the clinic and fill her in on everything that's happened and explain why she has not heard from him in months. Aunt May has recovered from her injuries, but she needs to be monitored for a couple days. Peter explains his confusion around the earthquake and says that he has to find out more. He doesn't believe that it was a natural disaster. It would be impossible for a nuclear facility to simply disappear and for there to be no nuclear explosion. It doesn't add up. Aunt May says that she hopes that one day Peter will be able to experience the happiness he deserves. His life as Spider-Man has caused him so much pain and suffering. Location: Area 51, Nevada. The Spot arrives in Area 51 and is met with hostility by the military guards defending the facility. The Spot is unaffected by bullets. They simply pass through him. He opens portals that send the bullets back in the direction of the shooters. He also opens portals and sends his arms through them to bamboozle the guards and steal their weapons. The Spot is intelligent and has begun to master the use of his portaling abilities. Although his fighting skills leave much to be admired, he makes clever use of his portals to surprise attack guards. He also drops some of the guards through portals and then reopens them meters above the ground so that the men come crashing to the ground. The Spot steals a whole arsenal of machinery from the facility, sending the compartments back to his stadium location piece by piece. Location: Stanford University. Peter has gone to Stanford to speak to Stan Levine, the university's lead researcher in quantum physics. They discuss the disappearance of the nuclear facility and brainstorm possibilities. They deduce that the only way the facility would be able to disappear the way it did without causing catastrophic destruction would be if it was swallowed whole by some kind of black hole. Peter's frustrated, knowing that there is no way an earthquake would cause a black hole to open. Stan shares some information that was leaked to him from an old colleague who was kidnapped by the government and forced to work on UFOs at Area 51. He tells Peter about the man's report of an interdimensional being that was able to move through space and open portals at will. Stan also gives Peter a list of the items that were stolen by Area 51. Peter examines the list and suddenly it dawns on him. Peter, this thing must be trying to build some kind of portal. It would need a power source, Stan. Like a nuclear reactor. Peter, exactly. Stan, it must have pulled the entire nuclear plant into one of its portals and then removed the reactor. Peter, if it already has all of these things, it must be close. I have to stop it. Location: the Spot's stadium. After his haul at Area 51, the Spot has all of the equipment needed for the portal machine. He is busy tinkering and assembling the various parts of the machine. He completes his mechanical adjustments and steps back to admire his work so far. The machine is almost ready, but he is going to need a crane to hoist some of the heavier parts of machinery into place. Location: Chrysler Building. It is a dark, rainy night, and Spider-Man is perched on top of the dilapidated Chrysler Building, waiting patiently for any signs of this mysterious being. He hasn't slept in days. His senses are stimulated, and he looks towards a construction site not too far away. Something is telling him to get there, fast. Spider-Man swings himself towards the site and sees a large yellow crane disappearing into a portal. Standing at the base of where the crane once was is the Spot. Spider-Man lands behind the Spot. Spider-Man, gotcha. Spot, I was wondering when you'd finally show up. I must say I've been looking forward to this. Spider-Man, it's always the same with you guys. Spot, I'm nothing like the rest of your foes. My work will change the way we see the world, all the worlds. Spider-Man, I don't know what you're on about, but I know that you caused an earthquake that killed thousands of innocent people, and that makes you a bad guy. Spot, violence is an unfortunate product of history, I agree. I didn't plan for the earthquake. I've experienced much pain over the matter, but my work must go on. Spider-Man, your work ends here. Spider-Man tries to wrap up the Spot with his web, but the Spot opens a portal and redirects the webbing back at Spider-Man, resulting in Spider-Man webbing himself. The Spot laughs at Spider-Man as he untangles himself from his own webbing. Spot, I never knew that would be so satisfying. The Spot uses his portals to surprise attack Spider-Man from multiple different angles. Spider-Man tries his best to predict the Spot's movements, but every time he throws a punch, the Spot portals himself away. The Spot drops Spider-Man through a series of portals while boasting about his powers. Spot, I could portal you anywhere in the world, to the middle of the desert or the bottom of the ocean. Mount Everest, if you like. While Spot is speaking, we see Spider-Man drop out of a portal into a remote desert, before dropping through another portal that opens up underwater in the ocean, before he drops into the snow at a Mount Everest base camp. Spot, I could drop you in space and watch as you freeze instantly to death. But I want you to watch. I want you to see my success. You made me this way. The earthquake is no more my fault than it is yours. You must bear witness to the consequences of your actions, Spider-Man. The Spot drops Spider-Man back into the construction site, landing hard on his back and knocking him out. The Spot disappears. Spider-Man lies defeated in the pouring rain. Location: the Spot's stadium. The Spot is assembling the gateway. He uses the crane to link the heavier pieces of machinery together. The Spot places a large circular ring into a holster on the ground that is housing the nuclear reactor. This ring is the gateway of the multiverse machine. The machine is controlled by a control desk that has a network of cables running to and from the desk to the machine. The Spot moves over to the control desk and initiates the machine. The ring lights up and starts to spin, picking up speed as the machine powers up. The gateway is spinning at full speed, and a portal opens up to an alternate dimension. Location: construction site. Spider-Man wakes up and sees the Spot Stadium glowing in the night from the energy being emitted from the portal. Location: the Spot's stadium. The Spot stands in front of the gateway, peering into the alternate dimension he has opened. The dimension he is looking into appears to be a futuristic city with flying cars, like a scene out of Blade Runner. He laughs with joy. Spot, it works. I did it. Spider-Man bursts through the roof of the stadium. Spot, I told you I could do it. Spider-Man, what is this? Spot, you're looking at the first machine capable of multiverse travel. Spider-Man, do you have any idea how dangerous this is? Spot, now that you've witnessed my success, you're no longer of use to me. Spider-Man and the Spot start fighting. Spider-Man's senses are sharper this time, as he is able to predict and avoid the Spot's attacks. Spider-Man uses his intellect to trick the Spot and lands a cracking blow, punching the Spot to the ground. Spider-Man jumps over to the control desk and tries to stop the machine, but the Spot appears out of a portal and tackles Spider-Man away from the control desk. Spider-Man's hands slip and he reverses the gateway's rotation. The Spot starts to panic. Spot, no! What have you done? Reversing the machine at full speed will destabilize the gateway. The machine starts to shake and rattle, opening multiple dimensions rapidly, one after the other. One of these dimensions is the planet of the symbiotes, and a red Carnage symbiote is spat out of the portal. The gateway changes again, this time opening a dark void that starts sucking everything in the stadium into it. The seats of the stadium are ripped from the grandstand and sucked into the portal, along with the control desk and the crane. The crane hits the Spot, sucking him into the portal along with it. Spider-Man hangs onto one of his webs for dear life to avoid being swallowed by the void. The Carnage symbiote searches desperately for something to bind to and senses an organism in the void. It's the body of Ben Reilly. The symbiote willingly jumps into the void and consumes Ben's body, reawakening him. Ben uses the symbiote's power to pull himself out of the void into the stadium. The Spot gets sucked into the void and the portals in his body expand and contract uncontrollable before he collapses in on himself and disappears into nothingness. The gateway spins out of control and implodes with a massive energy surge, collapsing the void and closing the portal. Spider-Man is caught in the surge and the entire stadium collapses around him. Cut location: Spider-Man's memorial service. The public have gathered in the streets for the procession of Peter Parker's coffin. Their mourning is reflected by the destruction of the landscape around them. The whole city weeps at the loss of their hero. MJ and Aunt May lead the procession in tears. An unknown snowy location. On the TV screen are scenes of Spider-Man's memorial service. We get to see who's watching the screen. It's Spider-Man, but not the one we know.